a new announcement from FIFA, which I want to speak about. And I want to speak about if the idea itself is still a viable thing. Like, I want to speak about whether it still makes sense to have a Club World Cup and things like that, especially in the formats that they are in now, and the way it's a little bit unfair. But let me start the show. Tell me, guys, those who are logging in, whether you can hear me, and then we can go ahead. So, welcome everybody to the Overthinking Football Show. My name is George Mukwena. I am your host. This show is on every Monday to Thursday at 8 p.m. and then also on Fridays at 12:30 in the afternoon, which is then for my members, my contributing members, the dedicated overthinkers that I have. If you do want to watch any of the previous episodes, we've had some very great discussions over the past few days, funny enough. Not just about the Sundowns and Rolani and all of that stuff, but we've had some really cool convos in general about the coaching standards in the PSL and things like that. And also we've had great conversations over months and months and months. They are all available on YouTube because I'm banned from Facebook. So on YouTube, and now I'm welcoming in the Instagram crowd, so hopefully they'll join us and we'll grow on that side. Feel free to comment if you're on that side. If you want to join the show and add your voice to the panels, just know that you have to join me while I'm live on TikTok, follow the TikTok account, and then you get to request. Bottom of your screen, there's a multi-guest button. Click on it and request. I will let you in and we can have a conversation. Tonight, I want to speak about the Club World Cup, something that is currently ongoing as we speak. Al Ahly is going to be playing in the third place playoffs tomorrow. And then, of course, the final is going to be between Manchester City, I believe, yes, Manchester City and Fluminense. Fluminense, Kiki Timebo Machelo. But essentially, the Club World Cup is meant to be all of the best teams in the world, all of the winners of each of the conferences, CAF, CONMEBOL, CONCACAF, UEFA, they come together and they have a tournament. Currently, the format is that if you're coming from Oceania or Asia, you have to play a few more rounds. And the guys that come from the UEFA Champions League basically get parachuted in, semi-final. While other teams have already played up to 3 games up to that point. And then, yeah, they're crowned the best. If I could just show you how biased it is to Europe. The last winners, Madrid, Chelsea, Bayern, Liverpool, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern, Corinthians. The last time and only time a non-European team has won the the Club World Cup was in 2012. And that was Corinthians. Otherwise, if you win UEFA Champions League, it's more than likely that you're going to win Club World Cup. So that's what I want to speak about today. And also, there's a new format. So this current format is about 8 teams, if I'm not mistaken. 10 teams, if I'm not mistaken. And the new one is going to be 32 teams. Now, the breakdown is going to work like this. 4 teams from Asia, 4 teams from CAF, 4 teams from CONCACAF, 6 teams from CONMEBOL, South America, 1 team from Oceania, 12 teams from UEFA, 12 teams from UEFA, and then 1 spot for whoever the host nation is going to be, right? So that's how it looks. How it's going to be set up is that, for example, in CAF, with the 4 spaces, 3 of those spaces are going to be the last 3 winners of Champions Leagues. So whoever wins this year, Al Ahly and Wydad are going to be the teams that represent 3. And then 1 is going to be the highest ranking 4th team outside of those 3 that has the most points on a 4-year ranking, right? But here's where it gets crazy. UEFA has 12 slots. 4 of those slots are going to be previous winners. So Chelsea, Madrid, City, whoever wins this year, it's going to be 4 slots for them, right? But then 8 slots for 4-year rankings, which means that we'll get teams like Bayern, PSG, Inter, Porto, and Benfica making it into this competition, right? By association. And that's where my problem comes. My problem comes in that why do we constantly allow Europe to get preference in these things? Why is it generally accepted that Europe can bring in 12 teams into this, Europe can bring in more teams into the World Cup and all of that, and the other teams stand by? And not only that, in this current format, City is only called upon to play in the semi-finals, whereas you have teams like Abu Al Ahly. Al Ahly has played AFL. They're currently playing their league. They're currently playing CAF Champions League. They have to play 2 extra rounds of the of the Club World Cup in order to then face the 2 teams that get ballooned in. I believe it's CONMEBOL, which is South America, and UEFA. The UEFA guys get ballooned in semi-finals. So by that time, you're not respecting that I have all these games to play, that I've played so many games, right? And you're giving these guys an unfair advantage, which is only going to be stretched a lot more in this new format because they're allowing 12 teams from Europe. Why do we allow these things to carry on happening? And why do Abu Mutsepe, CAF, and all of the different bosses just keep quiet when UEFA wields the hammer, you know? Also, here's another thing. When are players going to get to rest? This tournament, this 32-team tournament is going to take a month, 1 full month to play in 2025, which means that you may have maybe 2 months before you have to get back into the swing of things and maybe play some of your league matches or qualifiers for things. So at what point will these guys rest? You see how many tournaments are being dreamed up every day. There's apparently also going to be another club tournament that FIFA is going to be launching on top of this Club World Cup. So now can you imagine if you are Sundowns and you make it via the coefficient? That means you're going to be playing PSL, you're going to play MTNH, you're going to play Carling Knockout, you're going to play Nedbank. That's local. Then you're going to have to go play AFL, and you're going to have to go play ICAF Champions League. Then, because you made it by the 4-year coefficient, which I'm sure Sundowns is going to make it, now you're going to have to go to the Club World Cup on top of all of those games that you've already played. What's that going to do? Maybe now we have to justify signing more players. Now you have to justify doing more. There's a lot that I want to discuss when it comes to this, but my key question, and maybe it stretches to all of FIFA, why doesn't FIFA take Africa serious, and why doesn't Africa take itself serious in these conversations? There's no way that UEFA can have 3 times the teams of everybody else. 3 times the teams. All right, guys. Anyway, let me read some of these comments. Muchizi says, even new format, we have few African clubs. Exactly. Tolan, thank you for that confirmation there. Fandenom, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? I see Theo's here. I see Kumo's here. Let's have a conversation, guys. I'm going to open it up now. Remember that you have to be following me on TikTok. Join me while I'm on TikTok in order to join one of the panels. There's a button at the bottom of your screen that's going to appear that says multi-guest. Click on that button, request. I'll let you in, and then we can have a conversation about this Club World Cup. I'm going to try to do two panels today. We'll fit in 2 panels today so we can have as many new voices and old voices, and everybody can get a chance to speak. Vuyo, welcome to the show, my brother. How are you?
I'm good, and how are you?
I'm good. I'm going to start you off with a simple one. What do you think of the idea of having a Club World Cup? And then what do you think of the current format?
Okay, about the Club World Cup, football is growing. It can't stay in the same as early 90s or early 70s. So obviously it's going to grow. But I'm also having a problem about everything. It's Europe. It's not supposed to be like that. But because of the powerhouse of having money and having power, because everything, the FIFA president is from Europe. It's not the first time. It's always from Europe. But I don't know who set those things to make it everything is Europe, making Europe the powerhouse when it's come to football. So I don't know. I don't know, because every player is dreaming to play to Europe. Even us, everything, information, everything, we copying Europe. So
Okay.
I don't know about that one.
Okay. I'm gonna come back. Sinje with the burner. How are you, my brother?
Georgie, Prachuchi. Hey, are you all right?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Get December, man. We're good. We're good. We're good.
Yeah, no, man. I'm wondering what's going on in my shoulder. I feel something heavy. Then I look up, it's agent on top of me. But anyway, that's fine.
tell me, Sinje, what do you think of the idea of a Club World Cup, and what do you think of the current format? We'll speak about the new one next round. The current format.
Okay. I think let me say maybe this is an answer to a question we had when I think it was yesterday. I think this could be an answer to what we spoke about yesterday in terms of movement, not just on players to Europe, coaches as well.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a great opportunity for us to demonstrate as African countries that have African team and African football to compete against the best. I foresee that if we are going to continue with this, 5 years time, we could see an African team in the final because we will be used to playing against the best, taking out our best and displaying the football that we see in Africa on the international stage. I think that's the. If you look at, I always, maybe people are going to get bored by this. If you look at the reason why we are rugby world champs, it's because we've got South African teams that compete on a regular basis with international players. So we can squeal about the amount of European teams that are in this World Club Cup, but this could be a blessing in disguise that we get to play against the best of Europe on a regular basis. Or each and every year, Sundowns will be playing against the best of the best. They'll be playing against 12 of the best European teams on a regular basis. I only see growth. It means that Rulani will start to display his true sense as a coach against the best of the best. And when he does that, surely a move from Europe will then be on the cards because they can see what he does. They see what he does with a team that costs less than them. But yeah, and also finally about South African competition, it means that probably we'll start having other teams winning about MTN 8, about Kalin, about London, about Nedbank, because no team is going to be consistent in all the matches. They have to make priorities, and probably they'll say, okay, let's have a B team that will play in South African, because obviously 5 million versus 73 million. Come on. I see that. I only see growth. I only see growth. Honestly, I wish we can take this as a positive sign that we can now demonstrate growth and who we are as an African continent. Yeah.
Okay.
We can go to snake supporter up there.
Man, how I just wanted to add just before that. The format is going to be 8 groups of 4, and then it's going to go into knockouts. So similar to like a Champions League type situation. Please tap the screen, guys. Please tap the screen. We were trying to rank. So the more likes I get, the more we rank, the more the show goes out to more people. And it's free. Tap on, guys. Let me just go to Agent. Agent, welcome to the show, my brother. How are you?
I'll have to disconnect after this because my TikTok looks like someone's TikTok yesterday, which doesn't tap.
Oh, guys.
No, but I'll come back. Let me address the points. How are you, man?
No, I'm good. Tell me, I know you guys have already started beef before you've even said anything, but what do you think of the idea of a Club World Cup and the current format that it's in?
I think let me start with the other one, and not to be a Kumo, if you follow politics, there's most of the time when their speakers were speaking at the UN, When it's African leaders, there's no one. Let be those European. It's full, you know. And you ask yourself, if these guys are boycotting your speeches, why can't you boycott yours? You know, theirs. I mean, you know. So, I think it's a inferiority complex, you know, and I think UEFA understand the power they have, in the sense that if they say we want more sports, they're not asking, they're demanding. Because if they say we are withdrawing, then in as much as it will be a Club World Cup, because it would include all the other continents except Europe, it won't have that prestige and attraction and that level of investment. So UEFA holds all the cards, to be honest with you, you know. And they also understand that they will bring the biggest entertainment and the biggest revenue, you know. So I understand that they own, they have all the cards, you know. But I'm questioning other confederations that, why can, if you guys don't demand it, if you guys don't unite and say we want more, surely you guys can withdraw. There's going to be no World Cup without all the other continents, you know? So I'm just questioning it, because it doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't. 12 is just too much, you know? I think maybe if we are going to be saying maybe 6, while others have 4, it would make sense, you know? But 3 times, man, is something else. And on top of that, there is a proposed intermediate World Cup, Club World Cup kind of thing, like the current one, which is going to happen yearly. And the team from Europe goes straight to the final. What is the use? Like, it doesn't make sense for me. Yes, it's a good idea. Coming back to your first question, I applaud the initiative the same way I applauded AFL, that is going to bring more revenue to club, is going to bring more entertainment, it's going to be nice to see the best teams in Africa. Wada. But what swells it for me is the format, you know? It just, for me, it leaves a bitter taste to swallow, you know, because you look at it and you're seeing the club of the century in Al Ahly needs to get into the quarterfinals. The newbies, Man City, just has to parachute into the semifinals.
And if you're coming from Oceania, you play a round before for Al Ahly.
Imagine, you know. So I'm against it, just on the basis of the format. The idea behind it and everything behind it is good, but just the format, I'm against it. And also the fact that unless they want to make it a preseason tournament where it's going to be between June and July, it's just too much games for players. I don't think it's a good initiative player-wise. I think it's all about money. So yeah, up to time against it, to be honest. I have to be fair. Yeah.
Okay. Kuma, welcome to the show, my brother. How are you?
Thank you. And first of all, why am I in it? Agent,
yeah, now get agent. Who can say?
You are a politician. I know you.
Let's hear the politician. Kumo, what do you think of this Club World Cup idea, and what do you think of the idea of the Club World Cup, having the best teams play each other, and what do you think of the current format?
The idea is brilliant. It's perfect. It gives exposure of our league and players to a broader audience, meaning the global audience. But the problem now, one thing I'm boring is that like UEFA gets serious. UEFA thinks they are God. UEFA has monopoly even over FIFA. FIFA is nothing because of the perception is that with European teams or European countries, if they do not partake in any tournament, that tournament is gonna be deemed as failure or unworthy, because supposedly the best teams are in Europe. Of course, it explains why they are there. I mean, like, your countries are closer, so there's less traveling. You are much more well resourced in etc. And you've been playing the sports longer than us. So that is why I refuse to believe Europe has the best players. I think the best players are here in Africa and in South America. But okay, let's leave politics aside. it's not only this thing, FIFA Club World Cup. It's also happening like a FIFA World Cup itself. By And worst part, the FIFA World Cup didn't even start with Europe. It took me go Argentina. And so they've got those 2 stars, never literally, but the World Cup. Yeah, but the thing is, like, Africa has the biggest number of clubs in the world, or even countries. Meaning what they've got more countries than Europe, but now we get how many? Up to 9 now. 9,
Well,
So
yeah, in the World Cup, yeah.
in the World Cup, get 9, and Europe instantly 13. Why did they get more slots? Why? Why bonus greedy? Why aren't our leaders? Because now, of course, now it's how I don't care if I get cancelled, but the things like I don't have any power. So why the entire Africa are we FIFA ya thing? Let's boycott this entire thing until let's zavalaza musagrono on faith. Zavalaza and just now why are you catching feelings? And I'm just saying let's zavalaza. And maybe they'll listen to us. So one other thing, one other thing, UEFA get hypocrites and they're very good at PR and manipulation. I get about the Club World Cup. I'll get Club World Cup. Why is that? Because Club World Cup is like it's a bad thing. It's like a Club World Cup, man, European Super League. If implemented correctly, it can be the same as Live Golf in the first place. Mara, I'm glad for the European Super League or by implement that. It won't sorry, no, you guys will no longer have this monopoly over football. We're gonna shake things up, I think. I mean, like Budi Club Extended World Cup, Ashifa alone, it's in response to the to Club World Cup. And that they need you're gonna have more money. And so like Bafadi Club, the 50 million pounds just for participation fee. That would have been like it's your club European Super League, Mara in UEFA if you look at it.
Okay. Guys, please tap the screen. Tap the screen, please, man. As Malume Kuto says, 30 seconds. Just tap the screen. Let's try to get as many likes as we can onto this. Let's see. Muchizi says, I don't understand why Asia and Africa are allowed to be bullied by Europe. Realistically, African football has not reached the magnitude of European football, says Van der Norm. I think the current team of Sundowns can take this Club World Cup, says Uthio. The current setup is in favor of Man City, says Usipo F. We're going to have this Club World Cup every 5 years, point of correction. There's going to be one that's every year. There's a tournament that's going to be every year. Very, very true. Europe likes to manipulate things, says Wusiso. UEFA has 55 members and CAF has 54. Super Cup with two cups only, 2 teams only. Let me go to Vuyo. Vuyo, I want to play devil's advocate. Just a little bit. Can we say that UEFA needs to have more power and more teams because they're going to, they make the world go round. We all watch Chelsea, Man United, Man City, Barcelona, Real Madrid. We all follow those teams. They're the ones that are commercially the biggest. If ever there was going to be eyes brought to this thing, you'd bank on the European teams to bring them. Does that mean that maybe they should have that advantage?
No, because of if you remember, long time ago, Spain was in an international interested league. It's only Barcelona and Real Madrid. Even now, they are still trying to get there. If you look at Germany, it's only Bayern, Borussia Dortmund. Even they can't compete. Belgium, it's a development league. So Holland is a development league. Abo France, so there is nothing. France is trying to sign the best players in the world to play for PSG. It's not for the first time. They have money. Monaco have a good potential of coming to the product of development or what the structure, whatever. But in Africa, we have players playing in Europe. The players in Africa are the one who makes the English Premiership to become the best. You can't finish 3 years or 2 seasons without the African top goal scorer in the English Premiership for a long term. Even look at the best team in English Premiership. It's only Man City, because of this thing of Pep doesn't like African players or believe in African players, by the way. But most of the coaches in Europe, you like it or not, are using African players, are using South American players. So they are the best. Even Messi and Neymar, they have a little bit ego when it's come to Mbappe, when he say Europe is the best. So there was a conversation between the two, say, no, Europe is not the best. Europe have money to buy us from South America to come and play. Not that Europe it's got that thing. But as you say, this thing is politics and everything. But in the way, I would like to say football is going to grow with the World Cup, because the players of Africa, to get used to play with the best players in the world, they will grow. They will take that thing to the national team. Unfortunately, our South Africa, because of the ego and the politics, when it comes to selection players, it's going to be a problem because of we're not honest when we're selecting players. If we select with the current form, who is the best player now, right now? Who is the best right back? Sometimes we ignore the fact, and then you'll come later as our head coach, you say, I was wrong with Themba Zwane, but you didn't qualify for the World Cup. If you say sorry doesn't mean anything for us, because the fan has been there, everyone. I'm saying if you can select players according to the performance, let's take the Sundowns players put in the national team, like Barcelona players representing Spain, like Bayern Munich representing Germany. All this national team, the best national team in the world, if you can look who is selected in the national team, they know each other, or they play in the development same area, or they share something in common, and they are playing the best football. He's a top goal scorer somewhere. He's doing this somewhere. Not just selecting players according.
I'm gonna jump in just to keep us on track with the theme. I think that's a discussion we need to have, a separate discussion we need to have, Vuyo. I'm just gonna, for time's sake, I just have to jump in there a little bit. Let me go to Usinje. Sinje, devil's advocate. They're the biggest teams in the world. They're the most commercial teams in the world. Surely, when it comes to FIFA, they have to, man, swing their stick, man. Good to know. We are the ones who are doing this commercial thing, this quality thing.
Of course. Let's look at the quality of the leagues they come from. Let's look at, it's not just Europe because it's Europe. There are 12 teams. Let's look at the number of quality leagues in Europe versus the quality leagues in Africa. You can count the countries that have actually a solid league. You can count, let alone teams that come from Africa. Let's look at the quality of African leagues in the countries that are in Africa. There are countries in South America and all the other parts of the globe. Let's look at how much is the league in Egypt. How much is the league in Morocco? How much is the league in Uganda? How much is the league in Nigeria? How much is the league? We are talking about a South African league that is 10 million. You get what I mean? Let's look at the amount of money that players, the quality of players that are in the league in England and all other parts of Africa, of Europe. That plays a vital role in determining how many players, how many teams from Europe you bring to the World Club Cup. We cannot run away from the fact. You can scream equality as much as you can, but the truth of the matter is that we are living in a continent that is not equal. Even Africa itself is not equal in terms of the quality of the league that exists in the African continent. So you can't you can't claim that you want to have the same number of teams.
Mm.
First, groom the countries' leagues to be of the same level as Europe before you
Okay.
can claim equality.
Mm,
That's my
mm,
point.
mm.
That's my
Okay.
point. Let's groom. Let's build our leagues first to be at the level of standard of Europe. Then we can say we want the same number of teams to enter. But anyway, I hope, and I said the first time, that I hope that we take this as an opportunity to grow our football.
Kumo, same question to you. Isn't it only fair to play devil's advocate for Europe? Best teams, best players,
Fair to
best
me.
what, commercial, all of that stuff. It's coming from them. Should they have a bigger say when they get into these FIFA chats?
Bon, like FIFA, there's CAF, there's CONCACAF, Oceania, then you have UEFA.
Bo CONCACAF,
Like
bo-
UEFA shouldn't
yeah.
have any say. Yeah, I mean, like, they've got this superior complex. I mean, like, if you are the best, prove it. Qualify like the rest of us. Blow us out of the water. Like, follow all the steps like that we are made to follow as well. I mean, like, if you're gonna use this analogy, maybe these European teams are winning this FIFA Club World Cup in its current format because of like maybe they're well rested. They don't have to play 2 games before. We can say that, and it's a valid question. So, like with the assumption that Manchester City is gonna come here and win, according to things can happen, and also what's our chance to prove ourselves? We can take the best. I agree, FIFA. Governing body. FIFA represents everybody. So why are you giving these people what you call this special treatment there? And I don't know, maybe I'm naive, ne? I don't even believe for the Europeans even care about this FIFA Club World Cup as much as we do here in Africa. Ne? I stand corrected. So everything should be on level field, like on a level playing field across all formats. Then we can say, because all this does, ne, is ensures that the European teams always have a better chance of winning, whether it's FIFA Club World Cup or it's FIFA World Cup, because you're having more numbers, so probabilities are you are guaranteed at least a semi-final spot for the Europeans, whereby now we don't have water, we don't have electricity, we don't have soccer fields, we're playing on rubbery fields, we don't have a lot of things. About it is serious, and it's so sad. If you see us as your equals in terms of respect, then give us the opportunities to compete on an equal footing. And if you want us to grow, then refer the same respect. And the reason why I think our leaders are gonna keep quiet or mumble amongst themselves, ne? It's because of, like you said, as you alluded to, Sharp, you like UEFA, it's like a commercial value, le support, right? And right now, it's what we are lacking currently. So you can make the loudest noise, you can scream until you're blue in the face. The fact remains, have I offer 50 million pounds, so yo, exchange rate there, that's like $1 billion. No one. So what I say happily for and a born that protest there or and 50 million and I gave us hala bonus when they played. I wanna go move like into a cow attack. In an ideal world, there's no devil advocacy, everyone is equal. So if based on that, but all animals are equal, but some animals are much more equal. Yeah, okay. Animal farming.
okay, I hear you. Let me bring in agent. Devil's advocate, man. Devil's advocate. If I'm bringing in more money, if I'm bringing in the eyes, if maybe I'm the one that is keeping things together there by FIFA, shouldn't I have a bigger say as Europe does and maybe have some of these advantages?
Yeah, and the audience, and the ratings, So like I said, they hold all they hold all the cards. They're deputy Jesuses in the world of football. So rightly so. Like I said, I don't even for a second think that they should be given equal what is it, equal share or anything like that. Actually, they should have more, but to
Not,
what
not
extent is
3
more,
times.
you know? 'Cause not 3 times, you know. I think that one is pure greed, you know. It should be a fair size, you know. Like I said, if it was 3 more or 2 more, then I would say, okay, fine, fair enough. It is justified, you know. But this one is just pure greed and by Europe, you know. And what can they say? You know, what else can say? Like I said, we know how difficult it is for even in SA, you know, just one team could destabilize the sequencing and the synchronizing of league games, you know. Just 15 teams couldn't unite and say no means no, you know. Just one team. So you can imagine how difficult it is to organize our member states to protest against this, you know. And like Kuma is saying, there is always you know, it's bushigajiga which happens, you know. There's always the backhand deals, you know, the money which the left hand sees and the right hand doesn't receive, you know. And these things are well documented, you know. With FIFA, you know. So FIFA is the most corrupt sports body in the world, you know. So you can imagine.
Allegedly.
No, it's not allegedly. It's not allegedly. It's not allegedly.
Don't throw me into the fire pit.
You know?
Eh?
Yeah, hence we see others, even Sepp Blatter is still serving suspended a sentence, you know. But okay, allegedly, but still. So I wouldn't be surprised if, like Okuma, the politician, was saying that others are going to be given, say, 10 million and keep quiet. You know, what can we say? And we have seen that also in Africa, that not every leading president is a millionaire or billionaire like Motsepe, you know. Before Motsepe, allegedly, the way that you like, there was money which has been thrown to former presidents, you know, like the ones in Madagascar and others like that. So, yes, you see. So allegedly, also
Allegedly.
you know. So yeah, money plays a big role, and yeah. So I understand, but not too much, not too much range.
Guys, please tap the screen. Tap the screen. Let us tap, please, man. Tap on screen, guys. Get as many likes as we can for tonight. Ay, man, the nice looking ones, you give them a lot of things. Tina, you don't want to give us likes and gifts. It's fine, guys. Let me go to Hosi Barongo. How are you?
I'm good, OT, and you?
I'm good. I'm going to throw you into the deep end. Tell me, I'm playing devil's advocate. Europe has all the money. They've got the big teams. They've got the big commercial deals. We all watch them around the world. We all have their jerseys. You know, some people have an EPL jersey before they have a local team's jersey. Should they have more power? Is it only right that they go into these FIFA things and they say, hi guys, as in, we're the big guys here, so therefore we're going to enter 12 teams into this thing. We're going to have more teams at the World Cup.
You know, OT, it's fair enough to say that since these guys everything like like chelete, because like like each and every player why about you understand. So for bona they feel like banele every right value to manipulate anything like you understand. So for those value like Eddie or on top of that, they don't have any say. For them is to nod yes, and then we can take part in that. And then at the end of the day, it's all about making money. You understand? And then like a large chunk of money goes to them in a way. So and then now on the other side, I can easily say like this thing na personally ya money laundering OT. In which way? I started a tournament like Sundowns
Mara Kenya allegedly Mara go buy Mara guys. Let's Kenya go chatting, please.
No, I'm not. Alright, sharp way. Okay, sharp. Otlanze yona mulu like ya tlhokahala sharp. Okay.
So I feel who like this thing, ne, it's all about money laundering. Cause like at some point you select people who like they should benefit control like why implement that initiative. You understand? And then as time goes on, and then the pockets are sharp, and then that's when you go around and involve other people. As if you are growing the sports, you are still adding those you feel as if like they are still got like left behind first benefit. You understand? So this thing, it's all about making money, and then and money laundering for that matter. This Club World Cup OT, let's be honest, it's not well marketed, simply because of like any the African teams. You understand? Mohari. And then like it's an intercontinental tournament, but it's not well marketed. The reason being, Africa, like these people, they still want African teams to be left behind. You understand? So unfortunately, that is the reason like it's not well marketed. But let's look at Champions League. A tournament beside World Cup, it's well marketed that Champions League. You understand?
Now we're Champions League. Now we're Champions League. We don't even ask, are you saying African Champions League? Are you saying CONCACAF? We know when you say Champions League or Kia Europe.
You get my point. So no, so cause like Al Ahly, and then they know what Sundowns, so they stand a better chance of competing with that Casablanca, Raja Casablanca, and other African teams, African clubs. They know or no this thing. It'll upgrade the league's arena. You understand? Therefore, they should manipulate the system from the start. For no matter how good these African teams are, they shouldn't. This tournament shouldn't be up there like as well marketed the Champions League and whatsoever. So unfair play, unfortunately, the favoritism is always gonna be there. OT, it's always gonna be there. Like whether we like it or not. Let's take for a practical example a match between Al Ahly and this Marcelo team the other day. Some dubious decisions there. First of all, like penalty like we consider officially it wasn't a penalty in the first place. That's favoritism. You understand? So to include these other African countries, it's just for a hope fail and but they have their experiment like in the long run, it's gonna benefit them. And then as time goes on, the moment they realize or African teams, they'll be stepping up the gear, and then they'll come up with something else, and then they'll cancel this one. A practical example, OT. Our team, Kaizer Chiefs, Orlando Pirates, used to play European teams, Manchester, Tottenham, Man City. What happened to that challenge? They saw like African teams, particularly Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs, are giving these guys a hard time, and then they cancelled the tournament and focus elsewhere. So that's how unfair play and favoritism comes, like more football when it comes to European. So we should do our own thing. Unfortunately, money is not on our side. IQ is not there. Understand? To run our football like properly in a good way, to market our leagues.
Okay. I'm gonna come back. There's something I want to ask. Guys, please tap the screen. Look, in my eyes, man, I don't mind somebody who's saying that they've got more money, commercial appeal, and all of that stuff. I don't mind them having a little bit of more of an advantage. My issue comes when my team has to play 5 more games than any other team, and then that other team gets in the semi-final. My problem comes in when they literally have 3 times the number of teams CAF has, 3 times the number of teams Asia has, 3 times the number of teams CONCACAF have, double the number of teams CONMEBOL have, 12 times the number of teams Oceania has, and okay, I'm not going to count the host nation. So for me, you sit back and you think, man, but guys, there's a line to where I understand. Because for me, the Club World Cup, it represents a chance for the Champions League, the UEFA Champions League winners, to then go out and say we are the best in the world. And it's like a shortcutted way to go and do that. No, we are the best in the world. Man City last year, if Man City is probably going to win this weekend, they're the best in the world. And then, but when you look at it, it doesn't make sense. But I think it's also another way, and I think that FIFA does this a lot, allegedly. I think that FIFA does this a lot, in my opinion, where, and Europe in general, where they need to make it seem. We were talking yesterday about our coaches, and we were saying that our coaches are not good enough to go to Europe. And I asked the question that, but how do we know that? And also the coaches that are there in those big leagues at the bottom, do they match up to our coaches? Why are we putting our coaches down? I think it's also a visual thing where our Europe need to stamp their authority. So when we look at it, you're going to say that, oh, guys, Real Madrid has won 7 of these Club World Cups. You know, Europe has won X amount of World Cups. These people have done. It's a way to keep us down ourselves, I think. And you start looking down on you. You get what I mean? So a lot of people are not going to ask the questions about whether it's fair to have more teams than the other guys. They're just going to look at the results and say, oh, there goes Europe winning again. And that influences a lot of how we think about ourselves. Even when you look at these leagues, guys, let's be honest. Let's be 100% honest. You guys are telling me that the German league, bottom of the German league, last 4 teams, you're telling me that they wiped the floor with Al Ahly Sundowns? Last 4 teams in England, you're telling me that they wiped the floor with Sundowns Al Ahly? In France, their last 4 teams, last 5, 6, 7 teams. You're telling me that, so where does that thinking come from? And I think it's backed up by all of these little things that Europe does very well at reminding us where we stand. Somebody mentioned Live Golf, which is the golfing thing that was started by the Saudis and then merged with the PGA. I've got an interesting question to ask there, but I want to first read these questions. Motsepe isn't close to Rupert, but the story is another day. Guys are dropping bombs. Hey, Malume Kutso, no allegedly, man. Let's see. I'm looking at a lot of replies to people. Let me not read those ones. I'm gonna make a simple example. If you want to put the top 10 teams in Africa in one group and try and compete, says Wahib. Let me check on the other platforms if we have some people jumping in. Guys, feel free to comment. If you're on YouTube or on Instagram, it is open and we can have this here conversation. But let me go back to what I was saying. Vuyo, you know, I like the Arabs. And I like the Arabs especially because the example, yeah, golf, they started their own golf thing. Chigi, now it's merged with the PGA. They've got a thing that they call the Arab Cup, where they take their own teams from Egypt, from UAE, from Saudi, from Qatar, from wherever, and they play their own in-season tournament that they've worked out for themselves, right? At what time will the other confederations come together and say, all right, guys, let's do something for ourselves too? Because you see in Europe, they have things like the Nations League, where now those teams are all playing against each other and upping their own points, and they've made it a trophy. But then in Africa, it's just the qualifiers, and it's very hard for us to play our own things. Shouldn't we be looking into those things? Why aren't we doing our own things as the other confederations?
My brother, the problem, politics and money in football, it's a problem. Because if you can look in Africa, other countries, they don't even have their stadium. So it's very, very bad for Africa. So Africa needs to sit down and have a good structure to have stadiums. Each and every country might have a stadium. Zimbabwe doesn't have stadium. Eswatini, they don't have a stadium. A lot of countries, they don't have stadium, just a stadium. I'm not talking about the league. I'm not talking about our SAFA football and the PSL. It's just another thing for another day. Because SAFA and the PSL are not in the same room.
Yeah.
You know the story. Yeah. So And another thing I want to say about this thing of World Cup and everything, the fixture you talk about earlier about those things, I think PSL need to set a new calendar. We stay June and July doing nothing, the football players. Yeah, they stay June at home and then July maybe returning to the preseason. They need to change. December, we go for holidays usually. They come back after 3 weeks or 2 weeks. I think football doesn't allow that thing anymore. It's grow. So when it's grow, you need to change the way you do things. Football, it's a career. It's not something like you have go to party for December and come back or have no. Because we copy in Europe, by the way. We need to accept Europe. They don't stop football during Christmas and Happy New Year. They play. So I think those system is gonna work when you're talking about the fixture. How are we going to deal with the fixture? Holidays, what, and all of those things. Sometimes we stay too much because we have 2 months, June, July. Maybe first week or second week we finish our leagues. If Sundowns didn't reach those same final or whatever. And then I think Africa need to create stadium to each and every country to make sure every country have stadium. That is rule number 1. And then those big teams are called big teams. They need to pay players big amount of money so that they don't think about going to Europe. They need to take their career serious and don't think about to go and play Europe, because if you go, you're talking about Saudi Arabia, they are paying a lot of money. They are investing in whatever they are doing, a golf or whatever. They invest a lot of those tournaments they are doing. They're not doing for charity. They're doing for money. They put money on the table. Whatever they do, they are willing to do, and they are united. When they say something, they stay together as united. Why are we not doing our cup during June and July, African Cups or African League or whatever in June, July, where it's off season? Why are you not using the legends on the board of the calendar of Africa? Why they are not involved? Why they are not taking serious games for the legends so that they can chill and talk? What can we do to come back to the community? Look at what you call JJ Okocha, he was an Alex. Take these guys and invite them to Africa where there is nothing. Football can change lives of other people. So let's try to invest in Africa. Those people who got money in Africa, try to do the charity things, cups or whatever. They don't do those things, those people. After I'm rich, I don't care about the other people. I am on my own. As you, Penny McCarthy, you are a coach of Manchester United, take something on your pocket, say, hey guys, there is a tournament for children, for the poor children. Let's invest in soccer. Let's invest in ladies soccer. Let's do something before we can talk about the European things, because the standard that we are in, it's very, very poor, by the way.
Okay.
When you talk about the top leagues in Africa, you can say Egypt, Morocco, South Africa, Tunisia, not really. Ivory Coast, not really. Ghana, not really. All of those countries, their leagues are very, very poor and low standard. Even the grounds, everything are not really. Unless if there is AFCON coming, they're gonna renovate the ground for those AFCON, and then what after that? Because after the tournament, even us, we're still struggling with the stadiums. The stadium are closed. Look at Bloemfontein. Nothing is happening in Bloemfontein anymore. So how many stadiums that are crashed because of this? Nothing is happening in those stadiums. So it's telling you the structure of football in Africa, the levels is very, very low. So before we talk about other countries, we need to focus more in Africa.
Let me bring in
so.
Kumo.
Thank you for my time.
Okay, no stress. Kumo, why aren't we doing things for ourselves as other confederations? I made the example of the Arab Cup. Those guys were like, you know what? We are going to make our own trophy, Nyana ya rona. Ridlalele yona, market it to our people, then they'll watch it, you know. UEFA did it with the Nations League. We've got a Nations League. We're going to create a fake trophy and we're going to make our friendlies into a league format so that we play amongst each other more and possibly help with rankings and things like that. Why don't we see that coming from the other federations?
My bra, setlhare sa motho mo ntsho ke lekgowa. I mean, like, I wanna just go on Voyo's point, ne? Motsepe is trying, like he puts his money where his mouth is, and unfortunately, he can't be the only one in terms of like the billionaire. And if you're gonna compare Motsepe to his real peers, Motsepe is like me. Compared to the Arabs, we're talking about nations that they just host the World Cup and spend money for vibes because they can. And you want us as Africa to compete with that? That's impossible.
But we used to do
and
it.
The other thing,
we used to do it. Remember, kids used to bring Abo Saint Alu Popo, Abo TP Mazembe, that Vodacom challenge. Why do those things fall away? Why not create more of those type of opportunities?
Vodacom challenge. Vodacom was your sponsor. Like no one is sponsoring you guys anymore. And when you say Vodacom challenge, I get worry it was taken away because we were jealous. Because okay,
man, beef, man. Beef. Oh.
I get to beef, you man. The things you guys say, it's fine. No, okay, sharp, ne? Back to my point, the reason why the Arab teams, especially these oil-rich nations, can do what they like, because not from the onset, when they discovered resources, mainly being crude oil, they didn't have to rely on the help of America or Europe to come and drill and distribute or refine their resources. Us, we've got so much resource on the continent, but you know what's happening. We are being exploited and whatnot. So with having that mentality, that they can easily implement a tournament, they can easily spend almost 300 billion on a World Cup, just like that. So when they do their Arab leagues and they do their live goals, it's very easy for them to implement. Sharp, Motsepe, now I'm gonna reference Motsepe. You can say I'm biased, but it's the truth. Motsepe is trying a Shifagadi school tournament for Africans across the board. He's trying a ladies football tournament. But if what Dangote, your Ruperts, your Oppenheimers, your Manels, the Prince of Morocco aren't on the same board. I mean, that guy is alone. If those guys don't come and combine their resources, then you're gonna keep on complaining about the same thing and would 50 million pounds from this FIFA World Club or night that's gonna take place. We're gonna accept it because it's gonna give us, it's gonna line our pocket for the clubs. So understand.
I think the point I'm coming from is when Europe made the Nations League, they didn't create a new thing. They just said to them, guys, you guys are already having friendlies. We are going to coordinate the friendlies and make it a league. I'm asking for, like, for example, all teams have preseason. They're already spending money to travel. Wouldn't it be smarter for them to say, yeah, the Chiefs, you are going to Township Rollers anyway. You get what I mean? Township Rollers, you are going somewhere else. Let's coordinate that now we can make a mini league or a league where we have Sundowns, Chiefs, Pirates. I don't know if the North will cooperate, but Alibos Bangbani, and we just take our preseasons and say, okay, we're coordinating them into a league. We're calling it a league, but we're just taking things that we're going to do anyway and putting them together in a way that makes it,
Oh, okay. Oh no, I get your point. Also, you're referring to football clubs, not nations anymore.
Clubs, yeah.
Okay. I agree. The other thing, remember how we don't play the same calendar as well. So most of African teams, they play from January up to December, and we follow the European standard. Fine. If I don't know if there's a word for this tribalism for clubs, but we can say clubism. If you can put that aside, you can do it. I mean, like, obviously we have pre-tournaments here in in South Africa. We had your Carlin Black label. Even that one was only for 2 clubs. Even the Vodacom Challenge was only for 2 clubs. So little if you can come, I see what you get to, or maybe we can start by saying regionally, and let's say the female CAF format where we play via regions like COSAFA, North America, West Africa, and maybe the best of those, but the one day tournament. That also can happen. Mara, again, it all boils down to leadership, bruh. Who has the time? Who's putting such ideas forward? Are they willing to push them through? And if the answers to my questions are yes, then you can get what you want. Le nabo SOT apply ko cafe linking the such changes, then you can see a difference.
I cannot chelete go apply.
E nyaka tšhelete.
El application fee ya
apologies.
kwa application fee ya kwa hey.
Yeah.
Let me go to agent. Agent, why aren't we doing those type of things? Like, why? What's lacking from the rest of the confederation to have a little bit more creativity with some of these things, man? You know, Europe shows us all the time that guys, you can realign things, you can rework things. Why aren't we looking at those type of things?
Because as Ntakis, jealousy, and jealousy will be the end of us. Because rightly so, we were saying, even though conspiracy theorists like Ababuti Kuto would say we're just test tube babies for this EFL, but we did something which failed in Europe, which is still gonna fail because even now, despite the European Court of Appeal, whatever it's called, has allowed the Super Cup to continue. Only 2 teams are interested in it. Others have declined to enter it. So we have something which European countries don't have, you know, but still our fellow blacks are opposing it, you know, because I believe if AFL can be what you're suggesting, you know, that it could be a pre-season tournament, you know, could be the tournament which gets ready. It's like a precursor or
And
the kitchen race.
more open to more teams.
Yes. You know, the thing is, you know, when everything like, and I like what Kumo said about where World Cup started with 3 teams. Look at it now. You know, you always start somewhere, you always start small, and you must always start something you can maintain. You know, imagine if they started with 30 teams and it failed. You know, now they started with 8 teams. Let's go to 12 teams, 14, and then 16, you know, and be open to ideas. Say, how can you improve it? How can you make it more open? How can you, you know? And that can be the curtain racer, a good curtain racer, can be our equivalent of the Nations League, you know? But as usual, we are self-sabotaging continent, you know? I wouldn't be surprised the AFL, because it's been rejected in Europe, we adopt that mentality and say, you know what, even with changes, the proposed changes which are going to come next year, we reject it, you know? So it is self-sabotage. And also, Africa is very expensive, logistically and otherwise. So we need a lot of money. Ideas aren't just enough, we need a lot of money, you know? So if, and Kuma was saying, Motsepe has tried, you know, to bring to pump in money into CAF, but it needs more support from the locals, you know, like Kuma was saying, your Dangotes and stuff, you know, so that we can, you know, when you have money, the reason why Europe is so creative is, you know, they have a lot of money, you know, they don't even know what to do with it, you know, it's like I almost with someone's son, but anyways, let me use a person X, a person X. You know, when you have so much money, man, if I had so much money and I had a son, and my son says, man, I want to play professional football, I can buy the whole club because I have nothing to do with the money.
Now you're
you
taking
know?
it directly to the example you're trying to avoid. That's the problem here.
As a person X, you know, but it just shows you that when you have money, you're more flexible. you know.
Mara agent,
So,
we already the reason why I'm asking it like this is that
Yeah.
the Arab teams, when they're doing the Arab Cup, they're not spending that much money. And what I'm trying to propose is saying that, you know, Chiefs played in Tanzania, they played in Botswana preseason.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe we
Yeah.
say Pirates play Nigeria, play Zambia. Al Ali, for those who maybe can't afford, let's take the big teams who can afford and have them as part of their preseason schedule go to these countries. You know, like, can we be creative like that, where it's like, okay, guys, you're already going to spend the money for this preseason. Let's coordinate it and then call it a league. You get what I mean? Like, quote unquote. Then we can market it and get other monies for sponsorship. But you get me?
yeah, I get you that if we could create, you know, the tournament that they usually have in America, you know, something like that, you know, like I get you, but like I said, logistically speaking, Africa is a very difficult thing to do this kind of things. But it is a good idea, you know, and I think it will also help reduce the gap between the so-called big teams and small teams, and make EFL and CAF more competitive, you know. So yeah, you know, and also to improve the quality of our national teams, because it means that we're going to be playing more competitive football and stuff like that. So yeah, I do agree with you, but again, money, man,
You're already spending the money, guys. You're already doing preseason. That money is already accounted for.
Well, the thing is, Uti, for the again, it's going to be a close thing where now your Kaizer Chiefs, your Sundowns, the so-called super teams can afford it, you know. But you
Then
take
fly to the smaller teams.
No, the problem is you are doing teams a favor. Like, it goes back to that.
That's what we
if
need.
No. It's we are selfish human beings, eh? We are selfish human beings, naturally. So as Sundowns, you are telling me I should go to let me know, Botswana is our brothers. Who can I say? I should go to Eritrea, for example. Part-time fishers, part-time terrorist, part-time footballers.
Yeah.
I should go, spend my money, go to Eritrea and play games there and not gain anything. What am I gaining in that whole transaction?
And I think that's the difference between UEFA and the rest of the people. Like, for example, in this new format of the Club World Cup, let's be honest, there is no reason why Benfica and Porto should qualify automatically to get into the Club World Cup. You know what I mean? But UEFA is working for the top guys and the bottom guys. When they say Nations League, there's no reason why. What's a random country? That's what Lithuania should be playing England on a regular basis. But they've made it so. I don't know. They've made it so that when I play England and I draw, the points deposit into my points and I go up the rankings. Now they're thinking about the whole of Europe. So I don't think this would be a favor situation. It would be for the good of African football. You can't travel, so let's not deny you the chance to play Al Ali. So Al Ali, as part of your preseason preparation, instead of you playing the second division team, go Europe and go Egypt, right? Fly to Botswana and then play there. Pirates, instead of going to Spain.
As Al Ali, what do I gain in that whole transaction?
What have you gained from playing the second division Egyptian team? What have I gained from playing Krabi? What did Chiefs gain from playing Township Rollers? And I don't want to be bad. I don't want to be odd with it.
You guys are reaping the rewards of your poor games.
No. But what I'm saying is, that's what they normally do. You start with smaller opposition in the preseason anyway. So why not then, for the good of African football? And since you guys are going to play that level of opposition anyway, why not fly to Eritrea, play that game. The Eritrean people will gain something, most probably. I don't know if this becomes a thing. And then you guys get your first game out of the, even about 20-0, you are going to win 20-0 in your first game. Then you can move up. Then later on in the preseason, quote unquote, then you can go play Abu Sundowns. I don't think Sundowns would turn down the chance to play Al Ali preseason, maybe. I don't know.
I think it has to be a case of incentivizing. Like there is incentive to playing Nations League, you know, because of firstly there's a cup recognized.
It's made up. They made it up out of nowhere.
A certain goat has won it as the only international trophy.
I don't even
you know?
count that trophy, but it's fine. They made it up.
And it helps with European qualifications, the main thing, qualifications, you know. So that, like I'm saying, we're
qualify for AFL.
Obviously going to be the same teams. Yeah, like I say,
We've made up AFL. Guys.
we can work around it. We can maybe say, like I said, I'm not, you know me, I'm not always gonna criticize you. I'm always gonna try and come up with solutions. But yes, you can say maybe, you know, because but then again, small teams will complain, but because bigger teams, your Al Alis, your Sundowns, less than the top 10, have to play against other smaller teams in that preseason as mandatory, and the team from that whole preseason tournament, maybe they don't play preliminaries, you know, they go straight to group stages, you know, even though others would complain, but at least that's an incentive enough that, okay, fine, I have to go there and play.
This is what Europe says to Africa at the FIFA gatherings.
Yeah.
They're like, hi guys, I need incentive. Give me 6 more teams, please.
It's power. Without power, you have everything.
Let me bring it to why don't we do these things, man? Go Africa. And Rabasheba Europe coming up with all of these new things. Ronari Jutsi doing the same things.
You know, Uchi, I hear a lot of opinions and then later was like money this, money that. Sometimes it's not all about like money can blindfold a person. You understand? Okay. Let's talk about this AFL tournament. They look like it's hits recently. You understand? And then now, as like it goes forward for next season or next year, it's gonna be open to I mean, other teams are gonna be added there for to increase the number of teams, ne? But why is Iberegu in this way? As a CAF, you saw how like this tournament at some point it affect the fixtures certain teams. They look like, for example, Sundowns, more PSL. Esaletse Marauga games, they are playing almost every tournament, and they are also on the CAF, the bigger one. You understand? Why not as a CAF, but like African football? Hence our league ends in May. I get it. And then try to squeeze like all level those teams that go Arab teams, bo Al Ahly, bo Esperance. When their league ends, it almost ends like in A1 at the same period. You understand? Whereas like more in Mzansi, our league still continues. Why not try to squeeze those like you got like if ever like league Esperance di fella around maybe June, July, and then Lerena, and then by shift from May up to June, July, so that if this tournament, AFL, is gonna be there, hence we will increase our lead teams, and then it got like it's got contradict the fixture. And some other tournaments, they look like it got nothing along the way. I understand. Like if ever like a fixture AFL during this week or 2 weeks, and then maybe 12 to 14 teams are got like a demo fixturing A1. Look at it right now. Sundowns says a little around like all the teams in PSL, they are on 14 games. Sundowns is only 11 games, and then they still have to do like the catch up, and then on the other side,
every 3 days.
You understand? So, some of the things that look like it's level. It's not about like a hobale chelete. No, sit down and plan properly. No, guys, we need this tournament. yes, it's gonna be a great initiative for African football because like it's gonna open more doors like more teams that for example, Mozambique, Angola, Malawi, and other African lower countries. You understand? So sit around with those guys and try to hear their ideas, or like how can we grow this tournament going forward, because we cannot always be like, or no, because like no this mentality, or this AFL, it was an experiment from Europe to see, or like if ever they're gonna implement something of that sort, it's gonna fit into their football philosophy or what. Understand? So for us it's a benefit because of like, for example, I mean a practical thing. Look at the large sum of money Elor Sundowns earns out of this tournament. I read the sponsor, but they made a lot of money. Understand? So to grow our football in a proper way, because like recently, Rabona Simba, so like year in year out, they are there. When was the last time TP Mazembe if it like it's been maybe 4 years, 5 years down the line, it's the more EFL. And then Kutla user barking AFL is based on merit. Which merit? Because of like Kaizer Chiefs did recently better than most of those teams that know like they're competing year in year out, because one chance they were in the final. Mara EFL, it wasn't there, and then who told no, it was based on merit. Whereas what TP Mazembe better than Chiefs again. You understand? So these guys has to sit around and try to understand her like philosophy ya Motsepe. We're not jealous in Motsepe, but some of the things they know like body implement are not libelity as a troll. You understand? Libelity as a troll, and then if ever African football fails, there's no question like how does African football fails? Like a president his team is doing great, but African football is failing. What is the reason? You understand? It's like OT. When we know you as a respective guy, but your kids are misbehaving. There's no question how can you be so gentle, but your kids are misbehaving? You understand? So these guys has to sit around and try to understand philosophy around all these things at AFL, and then that thing can be a great initiative. Believe you me, OT, because right now we don't even know those teams. Mozambique. But that league is there year in, year out. Some of the leagues more Africa read it. You understand? So grow this thing in a proper way and not try to make those teams a favor by aiding them. No, it should be a tournament like Raitorega presses in ESO, like in most of the leagues some Africa, they are on rest. And then maybe in Ganorga game, like for example, how many games? 30 games. And then go game 25, and then it can be or no, chance our AFL at home and also. And then no more like league fella, and then AFL it continues. And then by the time preseason ends, and then already understand or like the growth of football and then and marketing, it can be on another level.
Okay. No, Hosi, thank you so much, guys. Please tap the screen. Sean, I'm gonna parachute you in, and I'm gonna ask you what you think about what we've spoken about, firstly, and then secondly, the question I want to ask is, are we creating too many big team tournaments where it's going to be the same teams over and over again, and we somehow call that growth? So, for example, from Africa, I think it's always going to be Al Ali, Wydad, Sundowns, we can count them there. Maybe one of the others, let's say Simba, let's say, or somebody like that, right? It's always going to be those teams. So those teams get to play CAF, they get to play CAF Champions League, they play AFL, they play Extended Club World Cup. Does that actually benefit any of the other teams?
All right.
Even Europe.
Good evening to everyone. I think first I wanna just say something to Hosi. The TP Mazembe has won the CAF Champions League 5 times. Inyemba has won the CAF Champions League twice. Simba has won the CAF Confed, and Simba and Inyemba are the biggest teams in East Africa, I think, and they are constantly in CAF competitions. Kaizer Chiefs in the past 30 years have won the league 4 times, been in the CAF Champions League just once. Inyemba has won the league 9 times, has won the CAF Confed, has been in the finals on multiple occasions. That's Simba. Inyemba has won it 9 times, won the CAF Champions League twice in the past 30 years. Simba has won the league title, I think 12 in the past 30, if I'm not mistaken. So they're not only big teams in their own countries and in their own regions, they are big teams in Africa because they play in Africa and they're constantly in Africa. So when they brought them into the Champions League, it's because of that reason. Some
But
teams couldn't
wasn't it
come
the
show.
last 5-year rankings that they were supposedly using?
No, it was, but then some teams couldn't come in. For example, Inyemba came in. I can't remember the team. I think Young Africans, if I'm not mistaken, couldn't join, and so they just made that change. And TP Mazembe has been going through a rebuild in the past four seasons. The same thing that Zamalek is going through. You see. So these are good teams. These are teams that have heritage in African football, not only in their countries. And these countries consider a big team as a team that plays in Africa, that wins in Africa, that dominates in Africa.
What
They
happened? Oh, there we go.
they don't care about how many league cups you've won in your country, any fans you have. That's just the culture of a country because of how many sports codes that are there and how people are socialized into sports. It really I like this one. No, it doesn't. You see, let's just bury that. That's the merit. The merit is how have you participated in Africa, and how is participation being calculated for the past couple of seasons. You see, moving forward, the AFL in this first in this inauguration part is something similar to a CAF tournament, a CAF Champions League for women football. You see, we first have to put it out there. So when you go to people and say we have football in Africa, we can show them that we have football in Africa. So these big teams are good at you can use these big teams to bring sponsorship into African football.
But does it benefit the bottom? But does it benefit the bottom?
I mean, like any institution, like any bureaucracy, it's gonna take some time. That's why when Patrice Motsepe got there, he said the one thing that we need for African football is money, because the talent is there.
No, I hear you. But it goes back to the question I was asking you, that Club World Cups, Champions Leagues, AFLs in some cases, isn't it just, gonna benefit those teams that access these things a lot? And I guess Europe has done very well in making sure that Libo Benfica, Libo Porto, Libo Inter are included into these things, even though they're not the strongest at the moment. But doesn't it create a big boys club? Doesn't it create a place where, yes, we say African football will get better, but is it African football getting better, or is it just Al Ali, Sundowns, Wydad, and the coefficient teams?
OT. There's always been a big boys club. I mean, even in South Africa, Kaizer Chiefs, Pirates, Jomo Cosmos. These are buddies. I mean, Jomo at some point was giving players for free to Orlando Pirates and pay me later.
Yeah, but you could only win the league. Now there's other competitions that have been created at a CAF level.
Yeah, I mean, if you are able to get money into African football, and if sponsors can watch what we do here and see the talent that we have here and the potential that this continent has, they're not going to hesitate, because he did say that the times of sponsors coming into Africa and saying, I'm just going to put $1 million into this competition is over. If you're going to fund African football, you have to fund African football. And I think because some of the money goes to federations, guys, there's money that goes to federations.
20 million a year.
Yeah,
for the whole federation.
but you have to start somewhere. You understand? I mean, you were given money for hosting the World Cup. What happened to it? You
No,
understand?
I'm not. Hey,
See,
guess how
we still
I-
don't have. I
we
mean,
should have
we
done
still-
better.
You understand? We still don't have. We still
they-
don't have a women's league that is competitive. What Patrice Motsepe has done is significant, guys. Besides getting money into football, he made sure that women's football in this continent is taken seriously. You see, and again, the people who lead the PSL in Kaizer Chiefs and Pirates don't want to join. You see, so CAF as a federation of football in Africa cannot speak to the PSL directly. They have to speak to federations. So you speak to a SAFA to speak to a PSL that don't cooperate. You see, so
no,
so
but I
from
mean
the-
it at a global level. That's why I was speaking about the Club World Cup. That now you're expanding it. Fine, it's great you're expanding it, but are we not creating another tournament where it will be the same teams? You get what I mean? So we've got another one that's expanded, but it's still going to be Bayern, PSG, King, Bo Bayern, Bo Chelsea, Bo Madrid, Bo City. It's still going to be Bo Al Ali, Bo Al Ali, Bo Wydad. It's still going to be Bo Fluminense. It's still going to be a King. I'm not even up to scratch at the Brazilian league.
But you see, man, look at what Europe has done. Europe has said we have a Champions League, and the Champions League is for champions, right? So you're gonna, yo, guys, I'll be back. There's a person who's busy calling me here.
Let me bring in Malume Kuto. Malume Kuto, I want to throw you headfirst into this. Welcome to the show, guys. Please tap the screen. Welcome to the show. I wanted to ask you this question. Are we not creating, we're creating tournaments and we're creating all these things and we're expanding them, which is great. But is there an actual benefit for the rest of football?
That's a very, very fair question. And if we're being honest, no. Because this is what you asked actually before even the Club World Cup thing came about, when we referred to AFL as 72 million. Or is it 72 million or is it 70 something million to say? All it's going to cause is for Sundowns to come back with 72 more million. And Baroka will never qualify for it because the matrix used to ascertain who gets to play and understand. The qualification thing, it's very sketchy for now. It's like, here's maybe because it's first season, but for me, it's like they all came in, all 8, and they were like, okay, what matrix can we use that will qualify all 8 of us? Understand? Like if suddenly there's SA Sports Awards and the criteria there is, are you always on overthinking football? If you're always on overthinking football, you qualify. Like, guys, you understand? Just because it's cool, so it's OT, it's Vicari in there, we suddenly come up with that criteria that fits us. And it does somehow leave a bad taste in the mouth. You understand? People go Polokwane City, as much as they're struggling to win 15 million, there's always a chance of them getting to Confed Cup. Because it's based on metric, it's based on a tangible criteria where we're like, okay, Polokwane City can get to the finals of the
Nedbank Cup.
Bank Cup and somehow qualify, which we've seen that over and over. We've seen Bo Kanakima Mamkize, we've seen Skukune, we've seen Marumo Gallants, we've seen Black Leopards, we've seen Ajax Cape Town go out there because the criteria was straight and it was attainable for everyone. But with these new tournaments that keep suggesting an exclusive type of approach to say we are clear, guys. Let's be honest. You don't need to have played 50 games. It's exactly like the UEFA qualification thing where you're like, guys, Luna got Halna straight matrix. The matrix is based on you and then you come up with it after. So yes, I really do believe and see with the smaller teams will not benefit. It will be for big boys in Japan.
And that's why I think my whole point with this and the reason why I asked the question is that I feel like at the top end, incredible. And the reason why the European Champions League, European Super League failed was because those clubs, when they started the Super League, they told everyone 9-9, guys, we make the most money. Give us a chance to go have our own competition and make more money for ourselves because it's unfair in their eyes for Real Madrid to be sharing revenue with a bottom team. That was Perez. When Perez came out and announced it, that was the whole thinking behind it, right? But then now I'm watching more and more tournaments that essentially do the same thing. The Champions League and the AFL essentially do the same thing. You will probably see the same teams playing in both competitions, right? So my question then becomes, if Al Ahly plays this competition and Al Ahly plays the next competition and Al Ahly plays the Club World Cup, how is that going to help number 10 in their league? Because they're not getting even the playing time type of thing. That's why I love what Abu Europe did with Abu Nations League. You guys are not playing friendlies with each other. So I'm going to force you to go play Macedonia. In this time, we are going to take over your friendlies and we're going to call it a league. Then I'm going to force you to go and play these countries in the middle of nowhere. You're going to go to Lithuania. You're going to go and do all those things. So that for the good of European football, we do that. I want to see more of those things. Look at this thing, guys. Look. UEFA. Okay, this thing, there's slots set aside for historic teams. So if the next 4 slots, so 4 slots are for the last winners. So even if you have not won the Champions League in the last 4 years, for example, or in our one 3 years, you still qualify. You still get in. I would much rather have it be, let's take the current ones. Okay, guys, Nina, I'm a finalist. We're taking you guys because you guys are the best teams right now. What if Bayern falls off? And I'm not saying that it will or whatever, or it can. What if Bayern falls off? Finishes that, doesn't qualify for the Champions League, whatever. Ticket to the Club World Cup.
Mr.
You
Uti,
look at,
there's something that says historic clubs there.
yeah, this is all of them. So each of the, like for example, we've got 4 spots, ne? 3 spots are for previous winners of the Champions League, so the past 3 years. So it's going to be Wydad, Al Ahly, and whoever wins this year. And then the last spot is going to be for on the coefficient, on the club 4-year ranking, you qualify. Europe has 8 slots for 4-year rankings. So 8 of those teams are just going to be off of the rankings of the past 4 years. And then 4 slots are going to be for the winners of the past Champions League. So you'll find a team like Benfica going to go play in the Club World Cup because they've got a high coefficient. But I don't think they've done anything significant in Europe. You get what I mean? So that's where my unfairness comes in. Even if you use it in the AFL context. The AFL context says that you have to have coefficient. Who's going to have coefficients for the past 5-10 years? It's going to be the same 8 teams. You get what I mean? So then I asked the question, and it's, guys, and it's got nothing to do with Chiefs and Pirates. Please don't make it about that. I don't want to speak about those teams. I want to speak about football as a whole. I've always said here about the AFL that I would make the AFL 80 teams and then split them into tables of 4. That way, I know then we go 10 teams from each of the 8 or 5 of the however many get to qualify for each of the things. So Al Ahly will get to play Sundowns. They'll play in their own group, their own league. But we also give the chance to Abos Kukune, Abo Richards play, top 10. Whoever's in the top 10, number 9, 10, to also go get some continental stuff, to maybe get some money from that. Each league can have its own television rights that are split amongst the teams. That's benefiting the other teams. But this thing of saying that the top teams are going to play the top teams and then they're going to play the top teams again and play the top teams again and play the top teams, guys, it's not going to filter down. It doesn't help me at all. So rather bring in a competition that allows other teams, other lesser teams, the chance to play. What I was saying about this preseason tournament that I'm suggesting is Chiefs went to go play Township Rollers. Did you see how full that stadium was? Did you see? And I'm sure it did a lot for Botswana. Now, can you imagine a way that you structure that? That Chiefs is there, Al Ahly is there, Mang Mang's there. It's a preseason, what? As they do their preseasons, then you go to Tanzania, you go to Zambia, you go to these places. that may benefit them even more. It's the same thing we're complaining about when we say there's not enough African countries, there's not enough African clubs in these FIFA competitions. Why? Because now, instead of having 10 countries that can go through, you only have the 5 that are always going to be there. It's always going to be Ghana. It's always going to be Bang Bang. How then do you expect another country to develop? You get what I mean? Meanwhile, in Europe, they've got all the spaces to bring in Abo Benfica, Abo Porto, Abo Banban into these things. Nje. That's for me where it's not even to do with like all of the other stuff. I'm not a political gent like that. Sean?
No, it's this thing is very simple. As long as there's capitalism, there'll forever be these spaces that you're talking about. You understand? There'll forever be those spaces there. That's why Europe decided to say, we're going to have a Champions League, we're going to have a Europa League, and then we're going to have a Conference League. You understand? And in the Champions League, you'll forever find a Real Madrid. In the Europa League, you'll forever find a Sevilla, for example. You understand? And you'll ever find a West Ham now. It looks like they like this Conference Cup thing. They love it very much. You understand? So it's forever going to happen because capitalism exists. You see. So what you can do is you can play a long game of trying, number one, to match certain objectives that you think are better for the bigger picture. You see. Because from the start, you can't say, I'm trying to address, what do you call it? The struggle of small teams.
Why not?
Because the thing with small teams is, and in Africa in particular, the context is very different. So if we take South Africa, for example, you don't know if Sekhukhune is going to be Sekhukhune in the next 5 years. You understand? We don't know where it's going to be. And then you have a Super Sport and a Kaizer Chiefs that don't really take CAF competition seriously. You understand? You can't register so many youngsters after you've complained for so long about playing in Africa. You see? So I agree with what you say when you speak in football. So how do we make sure that money trickles down so that a Super Sport doesn't have to sell its players? How do we make sure that money trickles down so that Stellenbosch doesn't have to sell players? That a Maritzburg doesn't have to sell players? You see, that I understand. But I don't think that is solemnly an objective or a job that's supposed to be done by the Confederation of African Football.
It is. That's their only job.
No,
That's their only job.
Their job is to grow. Their job is to grow African football.
Exactly.
And for them, their first objective is, how do I grow African football? And the first thing for them to do is, first of all, I need to expose African football to the world. And how do I do that? Because I cannot take Super Sport and say, let me go show the world what we can do as Africa. Well, Super Sport United, coached by Gavin Hunt.
But you can give them a cash injection for a tournament so that they can get better, and then they'll be at a quality. Instead of giving that money,
the money is to say, if you guys are going to give us 100 million, this is the product that we're giving you. Do you like the product for 100 million? Because we can make it better for 150 million by adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 of the teams. You see. So in this first year, because initially the idea was, let's have 24 teams. You understand?
And now be the top 20. Chiefs would have.
And you and Chiefs.
No, Chiefs would have actually qualified. We're 20 on the CAF rankings last 5 years from the finals run,
and
because
that's
there's so few teams are getting to the final. That's what I'm trying to say.
And that's unfair.
Exactly.
I personally don't want Kaizer Chiefs there.
No, but you get what I'm saying. Kaizer Chiefs can be there because the only teams that are winning that thing are hogging all the points. Abo Al Ali, Abo Sundowns, Abo Banban. So Chiefs can go to a final in 1 year and be top 20.
If you look at how long these teams, and this is something that Coach Rolani mentioned. A lot of these clubs have been in this competition for a very long time, especially Al Ahly. You know, they've been there for a very long time. You see, so South Africa started taking African football seriously with Coach Pitso. I mean, Pirates has always been there, né? But to actually take it seriously is with Coach Pitso, because he used to question a lot why South African big teams are not there. Why aren't they fighting there? And when you actually started watching African football, continental football, you started to realize, well, no, man, if South African teams had taken this thing seriously, every 2 years, every 3 years, we would have had a champion. You understand? Because it's possible for us to do, but because for so long we've been led by people who don't care about African football. It happened the way that it happened. You see, we can all say whatever we want to say about the AFL, but the main objective of the AFL is to show people that, Bona, we can do this thing without you, and there's an alternative way of doing it. So either join us in doing it that way, or suffer the consequences of what this new format is going to bring.
But then if it's the same teams, what value are you giving the extra? That's what I'm asking.
It could be the same teams. It could be the same teams, but the model might be different in terms of the business side of it, in terms of the marketing side of it, in terms of the type of rights that the clubs have. It could be different on different. On
But
different
it's the
aspects.
same, guys. Like, you'd be like, at some point, it's like if Champions League was to announce another Champions League now, at some point it'd be
you see-
fatigue.
No, the reason why Perez doesn't know how to sanitize his words. You see, I think the reason why they wanted their own type of league, it happened before when Atlanta qualified for the Champions League and AC Milan didn't, and then the guy who owns AC Milan came out and said the Champions League should be for teams that are historically in the competition, who made the competition what it is today. And not for these smaller teams and what have you. And then the Arabs come. And when the Arab comes, they start paying so much money and fucking up the transfer market that now people cannot afford. And so they say, in order for us to keep our best talent, let's have this. That's the only objective. For us to keep our best talent, let's have this. You see? So the context in Africa is not the same as the context in Europe.
Exactly.
We're trying to make more money to grow. They're trying to make more money to be greedy. You see, so the small teams, you're gonna get to the small teams. The small team can only benefit from Sundowns winning 75 million and buying a player for 20 million.
But I've weakened the other team.
Which one?
The team that I bought the player from.
I buy a player, I give you 20 million, I've weakened you.
Yeah, because I have to start from scratch again. No, but that's the truth. No, it's the
But-
reason
but
why. It's
OT,
the reason
OT.
why. No, check. It's the reason why Sundowns. Okay, I'm not a person who has this conversation usually, because I always believe that if the small teams were serious, they would have said nah, even to that money. Yes, Sundowns. They would go, no, we want to get a cap spot so that we can maybe get that money. That's not what I'm having. Situation we're speaking about now is we have an Al Ali that has resources. They win the league by 13 points last year. We have a Sundowns team that wins by 16 points, most resourced. We have King, I believe it's the same in Morocco, if I'm not mistaken. Like, we have these teams that win by landslides by money. Pyramids got a gang load of money and they're now second, right? They're now pushing Al Ali, even though they were 10 points behind them. My argument is, if I am the governing body of football for a continent, it serves me better, even quality-wise, if we can focus on making sure that the second and third tier teams have access to funds that maybe they don't need to sell players to get those funds. And I know there's a whole nother conversation about money and owners and things like that, but it would benefit me more if I had a Sundowns and I had a properly competitive super sport, let's say, that had money, even though multi-choice, it's multi-layered, but I'm using South Africa as an example. Have a super sport that can do 3/4 of what Sundowns can do. Have a Stellenbosch that can do half of what Sundowns can do. Because that means that when we go into CAF Confed and CAF Champions League, there's proper competition and anybody can win at any time, but we've also grown the other team. So for me, it doesn't make sense to have Al Ali, well-resourced already, win a Champions League, fine, merit, whatever. They've won it, 72 million or however much money goes into their pocket. Then they win an AFL and another 70 million goes into their pocket. Then they use that money, let's say, to buy other players from other teams to strengthen themselves at the top already. So now you find a situation where AFL works with coefficients. How impossible. You would have to go on such a run in the Champions League to touch the hems of Bo Al Ali if we're just making it historic. You get what I mean? The run you'd have to go from, if you're coming pyramids, to get into that top coefficient would have to, it would be a hell of a run they'd have to go on. How many teams can do that in J? How many teams can do it when the other teams can buy your players, can buy other players, can buy better resources, better everything? You get me? And as the confederation...
But OT, how does Liverpool compete in the Champions League with a PSG, with a Real Madrid?
They can afford Klopp and they can afford Van Dijk 80 million. They can afford Edison. They can afford to restructure. They're owned by billionaires.
Look at what happened. Look at what happened. I think they sold about 2 players to get the Van Dijk, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Liverpool is not a team that has such a big budget to a point where they go out there and they buy all the big players. You see, there's a team that spent 900 million on players, and the same player, 120 million of a player, can't score an open net. You understand what I mean? So
what does Liverpool look like commercially?
It's really good because they don't. I mean, they make their profits and they make their money, but they don't spend at the level that Real Madrid would spend at. They don't spend at the level that Manchester City would spend at.
But they've got a history. They've won the Champions League. They've done those
but the
things.
market has changed. The market has changed. And we're speaking about the market now. So the market has changed, but they're still surviving. Why? Because the business model had to be adapted. Right?
Who's
so
the Liverpool in South Africa?
There's none.
That's what I'm saying.
There's none.
Commercially, Liverpool can live.
Yeah, but you see, again, it doesn't have to do with CAF. CAF doesn't tell you how to run a business. You need to learn how to run that business for you
but
to
if
be
I've got no guys, okay, no, I hear you.
You see, so running the business is up to you. I mean, Sundowns, when you compare the transfer history of Al Ahly, of a Zamalek, of a Pyramids now, of a Wydad, a Raja Casablanca, and these Arab teams. Sundowns has no money, guys. People are saying, hey, a couple of years ago you spent 200 million. Like, show me the proof that we spent 200 million. You understand what I mean? So Sundowns doesn't have the type of budget that those teams have. So you need to find a way, which means you need to scout for the right player for your own system. Because
they can spend 51 million. Can I scout 51 million as Stellenbosch? Oh, they technically can. But
if Al Ahly and Zamalek and Pyramids and Wydad and Raja and AS FAR can have a proper club structure, you see now.
Let me bring in Jose. I'm fearing for time. Let me bring in Jose Barongo. We haven't spoken to him for a while. Hey, what do you think about this thing? Esikhuluma manje. Eribuang now. Yeah, utlafel.
Ash, there's a lot that you talked about, but honestly speaking, at the end of the day, there needs to be a balance throughout this whole thing. Whether a domestic league or continental tournament, but there need to be a balance. Because I don't know, Uti, maybe I understand your point due to the fact that we are all Kaizer Chiefs, and then some of the things we miss them based on the fact that no, OT is in Kaizer Chiefs and then I'm a Sundowns or Orlando Pirates fan. You understand? So whatever he says, his team is not as good as my team. So if I can judge you, if I can judge your facts based on that, there's a lot of things that we will miss. You understand? Because we are laying a very simple question here of like which team is Liverpool in our PSL? Which team is Tottenham in our PSL? Which team is Aston Villa? No, like at the current moment, you understand? Based on the current form that is happening, because things have taken a U-turn in EPL. Let me talk about EPL. Things have taken a U-turn, a huge U-turn over there. You understand? But here at home, it's always one team. If maybe by chance, maybe after. Like currently, right now, we don't know which team is gonna snatch the league away from Sundowns. We don't know that. Why is that? Because of like unfairness of the competition. It's not like maybe Chiefs and Pirates don't have the the money to buy those players, but there's this thing of unfairness at the end of the day. You understand? So like so long OT based on the fact that no, he's a Kaizer Chiefs, now I'm a Stellenbosch or Orlando Pirates, I'm gonna miss a lot of things. Here we are trying to grow, like for example, discussing like the growth of our football, whether domestic or continental football. It has to grow at the end of the day, because it cannot be this thing each and every year. Like right now, we no Girona is playing. You understand? Why Kisabili that thing or no it's Girona, I don't even care or like how they play. I'm waiting for weekend, Orlando Pirates or Kaizer Chiefs or whatever a local team. You understand? It's all about her like try to balance, and I also wish her like we as fans we can try to, because we don't know who's listening out there. We don't know who's listening out there. Just here, because conversation with her and no OT. Yeah, or like one team is always buying players and putting them on the bench, and like that thing or no, we are competing everywhere. This thing out before they bought that Maseko guy, you once hosted this kind of a talk, but nobody listens. So this thing OT, I mean, why we say it's a happy. Understand? So at some point we have to learn so that we can grow our IQ when it comes to football. Because it's not going to help us no focus on teaming one elo like is doing good for you. And then what about the rest of the teams that are in the PSL? Even if like they can add more teams, more this AFL. How about those smaller teams? Like, for example, so Stellenbosch is not going to sniff anywhere near that tournament. Don't they deserve to play in that tournament? Of course they do deserve to play in the tournament. But what like it was criteria if like it wasn't Stellenbosch if let's qualify. Those are things, some of the things that transfer like as defense, as the supporters, because we don't know who's listening. Try to come up with no so offensible like Nations League Europe. If it wasn't for this Nations League, but what one alabo Erling Haaland go Norway during the whatever break like maybe Europe during that time. It wasn't for this Nations League. But today we know where there's Erling Haaland go Norway, and then we're able to watch him because of like they market that tournament so very good. Understand? So these are some of the things that look like these guys about right now.
That's why that's why Kere, I think people are looking at it from the situation. I'm not saying Sundowns mustn't spend money. Honestly, yes. I'm not saying Al Ali mustn't spend money. I'm not saying they shouldn't sign every player that they want to sign. I'm saying that from CAF perspective, wouldn't it be more beneficial to CAF to create more Sundownses or Sundowns-like teams outside of what Chiefs, Libo Pirates, Libos Banban? Because later on, it helps you raise the quality level of the whole thing. You get what I mean? That's my thing. That's why I'm like, the fact that Motsepe had to spend the amount of money that he had to spend in order for Sundowns to be where Sundowns is shows my point exactly. You get me? The fact that you need a billionaire who's willing to throw money every year. He's willing to go, the team to go into a loss every year with him pumping in money. That's part of the problem, because not every team can get a Patrice, for example. So in a perfect world, even with us back in the day, Sundowns should have been able to compete with Chiefs and Pirates, right? From a CAF perspective, because that creates 3 teams or 4 teams or 5 teams that can play at a certain level. So now when I have these tournaments and I do these things, I'm not just looking at Sundowns. Maybe I'm looking at Supersport. Sundowns may be the better one, but Supersport, when we go sell Econfed, it's like, guys, these are guys that did very well. It's the same as what they do in Europe. That's why there's a top 4. They call it top 4, top 5, top 6 to make us think that the level is so high and all of that stuff. But there's 5 teams, 6 teams that on their own. I'm an Arsenal fan. The Achilles Stadium. We weren't spending money. We were struggling, but we were still there. About Tottenham could build a stadium, could do all those things. Create more of those ones to up the level. But me, I don't see the point of it if Sundowns, Al Ali, Wydad are going to be in the final of this, which means that the world's eyes are going to be watching them. Then we create another tournament.
Year in, year out is the very same team that we are seeing. Year in, year out, each and every tournament. Like right now, even if like they can say we are moving away from AFL, and then we are coming up with something else. Obviously, Wydad is gonna be there, Al Ahly is gonna be there, Zamalek is gonna be there, Sundowns is gonna be there. TP Mazembe is gonna be there, Esperance is gonna be there, Wydad Casablanca is gonna be there. What about the rest of the teams?
And it's not to say they don't deserve it. Again, it's not to say they don't deserve it. It's to say you've got the Champions League. Shouldn't we be investing in other things that can bring up other teams? Maybe it's because we look at South Africa. Think of Botswana. Botswana doesn't have a sponsor right now for its league. Maybe CAF could go, Yazin, for the good of African football. We're going to take money and put it into Botswana. You get what I mean? Zambia, Banban are struggling with stadium. Oh, not Zambia. Other countries struggle with having stadiums up to the level of FIFA and all of that stuff. CAF should be looking at those things, not to hurt Sundowns, but to uplift other teams. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. Simple as that. You understand? And then no sort of that thing or no, cause like a good use of something or no. Pito is the guy or like only injected that thing or every team should take CAF seriously. No, it wasn't Pito. I mean, Pirate they win CAF 95, and then Roger Disa, this guy, Eric Tinkler, if I'm not mistaken, they took Orlando Pirates to CAF before even Sundowns could even think about winning that tournament. Already Pirates was there. You understand? And then there was a point where only Chiefs like before the suspensions back in the years. So like at some point, like we have to change our the way we reasoning when it comes to, because it's not gonna be like no Chiefs why you this and that because of like there's unfairness of competition like more like within this footballing. It's everywhere.
But I also think now, people are confusing it kaktabaya Chiefs. Chiefs is where Chiefs is because of their own decisions. I'm talking about the teams that even if they wanted to take the decision, it's so tough for them. You get what I mean? To be able to do that. That's who I'm looking at. That's why I'm saying, Orena, if I was going to do AFL, I would make it 80 teams, 4 different leagues, so that Iskukune can go and play Pyramids. And then in their league, they can sell TV rights for that, because I'm sure, can you imagine a team that has never had a Champions League? Now we've got some continental football that we can bring to the town, you can bring to the city. Now we can sell TV rights, make some money, we can buy some better players, maybe then compete with Sundowns. Sundowns will still get to play Al Ali in their band, but it's no longer a case where Nababo Royale am about to get sold. There's rumors about Swallows getting sold. There's rumors about all those things. Yes, you can talk about the owners, but not everybody has access to a billionaire. But also, CAF as the mother body can't be watching this and going, it's okay. They need to jump in and help out. It's not to hurt Sundowns or hurt Al Ali or uplift Kaizer Chiefs. No, it's for the lesser teams at the bottom.
OT, 2011, if I'm not mistaken, 2011, 2012, Orlando Pirates took Black Leopards to this Confederations Cup because of like they were competing in the CAF. Remember that? At one point, Black Leopard risked their position in the PSL, whereas like they were focusing too much go that Confederations Cup. You understand? Yeah, even Marumo Kaland. You understand? So these are some of the things that look like it's one already level. Like this is the kind of like a fairness competition. People,
But you see,
unfortunately,
look at this comment now from Kolani now. Chiefs fans complaining about fairness. No, that's why I even said the fact that Sundowns had to get so much money in order, that's already wrong. You get what I mean? Like, I am being 100% with you when I say that the fact that a Sundowns, the fact that if we need somebody to go compete at that level, you're going to need something that crazy to happen. That's the problem here. Sundowns should have been able to compete with the Chiefs and Pirates, or not even Sundowns. Let's look at the other ones. Should have been able to compete with the Chiefs and the Pirates on fairness. That's what I'm saying. Or that's the problem with Africa.
OT, here is another fact. Those teams still already compete more AFL, this previous one. Let us not be surprised if those teams go in for maybe 5 to 6 years. Win that tournament because of at the current moment, Sundowns is sitting at a 74 million. Of which like it's a greater advantage for all these teams that look like it will Ediwa next season. You understand? Because of all those teams that look like they compete already, they are up there budget. And then what about those teams that look like they are Ediwa? They don't have a budget. Why didn't you start this thing like level A1, PSA1 for all those teams that look like the money? This is the kind of things that like we are trying to break down. Fairness of like financial fair play to be precise.
No, I care about the financial fair play, to be honest with you. I've said a lot of times that Sundowns must carry on doing what Sundowns is doing. It's a different conversation. Sundowns must carry on doing what Sundowns is doing. I am just against people saying that it's going to help the rest of the leagues. It's not going to help the rest of the leagues. And they're making it seem that way. And 72 million for Sundowns means one thing. 72 million for 10th place in Zambia could mean saving the club. You get what I mean? Could mean you just survival. And my issue with all of these tournaments is that they're doing it under the guise of saying that it's going to help everybody. You get what I mean? They could even make an AFL. They could keep the AFL, right? But is CAF focused on bringing up the level of football throughout the country, throughout the continent? That's why I was like, it would be so nice to have a tournament where Sundowns goes and plays a random team from somewhere in Africa. That would mean so much for that team and maybe their development. For example, if they do it on a consistent basis, you know, maybe players could be found from those teams or whatever, or however you want to slice it, right? But it's not going to be like, it shouldn't be looked at as, I'm giving up for this. No, you are helping another country to come up. You get me? And again, I'm not going to say that, I'm not going to sit here and be on top of the world and say, hey, Chiefs. No, even when we were leading, it's a problem that you can't catch the Pirates, the Chiefs, because Pirates and Chiefs commercially can command more money. There should be somebody who's a stopgap and says, Yazin, Vodacom is not going to give you 100 million, but as CAF, we're going to create you an opportunity to get 70. It's cool, but unka 70, you can invest it, you can do whatever, but then you can build. You get me? Back in the, I'll take it back then, since people are saying we're fighting Sundowns. I'll take it back then. It was wrong that you...
No, we don't have to take anything back, OT. Our football is captured, and then we have to be realistic about that. Our football is captured, and then everyone, I mean, unless maybe if Nalwana OT, based on club for club discussion, you understand? But if we talk football, we have to understand that like our football is captured. As like straightforward, our football is captured, and then to run away from this, PSL, for example, has to do away with the Foundation because we have DSTV. Elor sponsor those guys at the lower parking, at the lower level. And then everywhere else, more like it is what, and then he moves away from, and then Afuka Samutimiya, and then other sponsors came in. Kimolo like the growth of football because of what is happening right now. what is happening right now, there's a lot of question marks that are happening. And then some of the things, OT, Rena re tlo fa respect, just because of like Robona Zamagadi Poshi cars and whatsoever. But there are people who like this guy, and then those are the people who like Bakasu respect at all. Otherwise, like my guy. Those Spanish guys there.
No stress. No, thank you so much. Thank you so much to the panel that joined, guys. Can you please tap the screen for the last time? That's why I'm like, I think, guys, at the end of the day, when I speak about football, I try my best to look at it from a point of view of how do we benefit? How do we make the thing bigger? How do we include more teams? How do we make sure that we're actually growing? Because I think to a degree, UEFA has a promise that they've made to their continent that we're going to make sure that European football is at the top. We're going to make sure that European football is at the top. We're going to make nations leagues. We're going to force people to give us more things in the Club World Cup. We're going to market to everybody. We're going to make sure that it's the best product. It looks like We're going to run the narratives that make it seem as though African teams, players, coaches are not on a certain level, even though their teams are made up of these things. We're going to make sure. And that's the type of commitment that I want from CAF, from my end. That's the type of commitment that I want from CONMEBOL. That's the type of thing that I want from CONCACAF, Asia, Oceania, all these people to go, guys, how do we make it better? And I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I don't think the AFL made anything better in terms of football as a whole. That's my argument here. Football as a whole didn't benefit anything from watching that tournament. The monies that have been split, I believe they were saying that it's going to be $1 million per conference. $1 million per conference is 20 million rand, and the whole conference has to share that. So SAFA has to take its cut, PSL has to take its cut. It's at the end of the day, it doesn't mean much for the rest of the leagues. It would have been better if there was a tournament that was created for maybe the other guys to try get those monies. And not Chiefs, not Pirates, guys. Please, can we move away from that? Those other teams. Imagine what that does for Zwaneng. Zwaneng, I think, is owned by mine. But imagine what it does for teams at that level. Imagine what it does for other teams that have been struggling. You get me? That's what I'm arguing here. I'm not arguing about the other stuff, guys. I've told you guys all the time that, listen, Sundowns must carry on doing exactly what Sundowns is doing. And it's sad because I am hoping that the teams that can afford, theoretically and in real life, about Chiefs, about Pirates, the teams that can afford, wake up. And the teams that theoretically could afford, about Stellenbosch, about SuperSport, also wake up, right? But as a whole, I would much rather have 12 teams from each league that can compete at a certain level than to have one team that's up there at the top and then everybody else is at the bottom. And again, I am taking out Chiefs and Pirates and those teams. I'm talking about everybody else, even though they were also 16 points behind. That's what I'm saying. And that's how the confederation, the motherboard of it all should be looking at it. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Tomorrow's show is 12:30. It's the contributors of the show. Please tap the screen. Tap the screen for this last few minutes. Tomorrow's the Contributors Show. We have a WhatsApp group that you can join if you join a membership on YouTube. Go ahead and join the membership. It's 20 Rand a month. You get access to our WhatsApp group, and they decide what the show is tomorrow. And it's a group call to the WhatsApp group that you guys get access to via TikTok and all of that stuff, and they lead the show. So if you want to join and you want to make it a good Christmas for me, please join one of the memberships. Cheapest one is 20 Rand, guys. cheapest one is 20 Rand. And yeah, it really does help keep everything running and all of that. Thank you, Malume Kuto, for the gifts. Shout out to the Instagram audience. Even though it's shaky, but it's fine. We're building. Mtoko DC on YouTube says the new Club World Cup will make the European monopoly worse. That's what he says on that side. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you guys then tomorrow, 12:30. Oh, if you want to watch any of the previous episodes, they're all available on YouTube. I'm banned from Facebook. YouTube has all of the episodes. We've had far-reaching discussions as we've done here, so you can watch them all there on YouTube. So subscribe, and if you can, join one of the memberships. And yeah, but guys, I'll see you guys then tomorrow, 12:30.